Welcome back to the 1949 Ford F-1 project. I know it's been a few months since I posted anything. I've been focusing mostly on wrenching over the last several months rather than posting content, just because the weather was nice and I was having a good time doing that. We've now reached the time of the year where working on any sort of vehicle project is like working on the surface of the sun, so it's pretty unpleasant. So I figured let's go ahead and use the hot weather as an opportunity to kind of catch up on our content. This video is focused on frame restoration for the 49. There were a few areas on the frame that needed to be addressed before we put the engine back on. So without getting into too many details about what that restoration is, let's watch the video. In the process now of trying to bend the horns back into shape. I'll have a video on this in a little bit. Let's see if we can get that closed up so it can be welded back. That is not supposed to be that shape. It's supposed to be straight, so we can get that okay, and that straight again. This is passenger side one. Seems to be in relatively good shape. Still a fair amount of metal at the bottom. Might be able to reuse it as is, at least as a template. This is the driver's side one. Much less metal left. But I do want to see if I can get all of the rust off. And to do that, I will be using electrolysis. All right, well, here are the same parts after a couple hours of electrolysis. Obviously, it's not completely rust-free, but it's down to shinier metal. And we'll finish that up the rest of the way. Still got to drive the rivets out, but gradually getting it cleaned up. Obviously, there's some repair work that's needed. This is where the front shock mount goes. Close to that black ring as possible, since that'll line me up on my, get me centered as I need to be for where things ultimately need to go. We'll secure our bracket in place. We just need to spot weld these in. Obviously I still got my crack here to fix. I got a crack here to fix, but then a little gap right there that's got to get closed up. But other than that, this should be a lot more secure than it was. So. Okay, I still have to weld in that guy on the back side, so that will give us a little bit more strength. Hopefully it'll hold everything together, and hopefully these won't pull out. But anyway.
That is supposed to be solid, but it's not. I wonder what that is. This is the bottom portion of the front support for the rear suspension. We come up. That hole is right there. That's not good. We don't want the holes there, so this is gonna, this whole piece is gonna have to come off, as is probably this, so we can repair all of that. This mess is where rear shackle support for the rear suspension, and then step side bracket like that one. And she's looking messy. Cut out the bad section of the frame right here. Go down to some good metal, some thickness to it. It's obviously not original thickness, but it's there's some weightiness to it. I think we can fill that in. Okay, so we got our patch put together. It's level with the frame. Obviously there's some spots where the frame's eroded away, but it's not too bad. But it should address the serious issues here. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's not quite what I had time. All right. Here we go. New metal patch. Solid metal in the frame, finally. All right. Watch clearance, make sure nothing's going to catch. Why don't you come up underneath? Oh, shit. Keep going. I gotta do the other side. Don't let it go. My mechanical angle is not great. What's terrifying? The nice thing is it's all clear off of this. Actually, I'm tempted right now.
Are you sure it's no.
Yeah, actually, I need to let this dry out a little longer. The chassis has been painted with POR 15 rust preventative in silver. I went that route just because of the fact that it provides a high contrast relative to the chassis black that'll be going on it later. So that was sort of an intentional decision. Probably could have gone gray instead of silver. It didn't really matter since it's not going to be visible to anybody. It flowed fairly well. The main thing, though, is the fact that the metal particles that are in the silver didn't distribute quite as well as I would have liked, but I don't think it really matters. Again, one thing actually about this stuff, when you put it on, make sure you're wearing gloves, because I made the mistake of not wearing gloves initially, and the stuff doesn't wash off.
And you can't use any solvents to get it off either. It's gonna have to wear off my hands. Whatever.
But overall, I mean, it looks really good, especially considering the condition of the frame to start with. And not too bad. Other thing I've got here, since I'm not sure of the integrity of the metal on the other side, I did put a back plate on here, which is going to get torqued down. But that'll hold all that in place, keep it from pulling through. But we now can put the wheels back on. Yay! Let's take a look at what we got now. So front shock mounts are here. Brand new bushings, upper shackles are there. You need to torque those guys down. Repair to the frame right here, so that's all solid metal again instead of being a hole. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Placed rear cross member here and here. So those are all brand new. And as I recall, one of these spots, I can't remember where, it's hard to tell now, fixed a crack in the frame along here too. The original rear shock hangers, they've been cleaned up, new bushings put in, and a little bit of paint still in there, but hopefully that'll do the trick for the rear suspension. Okay, so let's see. Front shackle bolts are all in place and cotter pinned in. The front shock mounts are in. Torque down 50 foot-pounds on these guys. Can't get the actual shocks in place until we get the engine back in, because I need enough compression on the springs in order to have enough room here, so can't wait to get that to go. The flex line mounting point is in. Come on down. Rear shackle bolts are all anchored in. This one's got me a little concerned because it pulled through a little bit further than I would have liked, but it's anchored in there pretty well. These guys are in where they're supposed to be. Still need to finish torquing down the leaf spring U-bolts. They got to get down to about, probably torque them down about 110 foot-pounds each. That's going to work my way up to that. It's going to take time, and it's kind of tiring. Anyway, got the rear shocks kind of set in place, but we're moving along. Next big thing after all this is done is getting the transmission all squared away. But anyway, we're getting there.
All right, well, that wraps up this part of the project. There was one part that you didn't see me bolt back on, and that is this collection of cross-member brackets. I know I can repair these. There's a bit of work required. As you can see, I've done a little bit of prep. But if anybody watching the channel has access to some of these, I'd actually rather, if I can get a better set, use those than try to get these back into condition. So other than that, I appreciate you watching. If you liked what you saw today and haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching.